word of prayer. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear.
Our Daddy Lord, we are so grateful for bringing us here this evening. We thank you and we give you all the praise and adoration for your guidance and protection throughout the day. As we have gathered this evening to learn about communication, we seek that you take absolute control over today's program. Lead and guide us, oh Lord, that we'll be able to get the maximum out of it. We commit our resource persons into your hands, oh Lord, that you grant them knowledge and wisdom, that as they deliver their speech, that they will impart into us positively, that at the end we'll make good use of it as we speak publicly or as we make good use of the communication skills that will be impacted. We ask that your grace will guide and grant us the favor that we'll have a fruitful and a successful event. This and many other blessings we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, our brother Dominic. Once again, you are all welcome to today's leadership seminar. And thank you so much for coming early. Indeed, if there's any blessing, you are the first to receive it. So now I will call on Shanghai's Women's Commissioner, Sandra Mensah, to give us the welcome address.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Rose. I don't know if I can be heard. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, thank you. So, good day, everybody. Dajia How. As you already heard, my name is Sandra Mensah, and I am currently the Shanghai Women's Commissioner. It's such a great pleasure to welcome you all to this wonderful webinar. We are elated to have you all present for this occasion, and we are glad to see your beautiful faces, to hear your wonderful voices, and though due to the nature of the venue, we will be muted, we are still excited to feel your presence and even your silence. And we appreciate the fact that you have taken time off your busy schedules to grace this wonderful occasion. Therefore, you are all welcome to today's leadership program with the theme, Young Leaders and Their Allies. This is our very first edition. This is our maiden edition. And with time, we hope to have subsequent ones. And we hope that when the time comes, you give us the love and support that you gave for this one too. Now for this edition, we are honored to have in our midst two very influential people who, based on their experiences, will coach and educate us as young leaders and future leaders for whatever role we intend exploring or for whatever role we are currently embarking on. And they'll be speaking on public speaking and effective communication. I would also like to use this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of some very important people in our current jurisdiction. I know we are all important. We also have in our midst today, the Shanghai Provincial Coordinator, Honorable Kwame Aseidu, and the Executive Board of Shanghai, headed by Honorable Salimatu Yakubu. Also, we acknowledge the presence of the National Executive Committee, NEC, headed by Her Excellency Irene Koko. I would also like to show special gratitude and appreciation to the NEC Vice President, His Excellency Emmanuel Thompson, and the National WUCOM, Honorable Millicent, for gracing this occasion. The love and support that we've received from everyone has been overwhelming. It has been massive, and we cannot thank you enough. We therefore hope that you enjoyed tonight's program, or should I say this afternoon or today's program, because we are all in different time zones. And we thank you for gracing our occasion today. So hopefully you enjoyed the program, and thank you very much for coming. Over to you, Ms. Rose.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You have a very nice voice, and I was hoping you would talk and talk and talk and talk. All right. All right. Thank you so much for the introduction. We will move straight away because I have seen one of the guest speakers in She has already been here. I mean, she came very early. And so before I introduce her, I'll just say that just look through the name list, try and socialize, try and talk to somebody. Because if we were meeting in person, you would have seen someone and be like, oh, hey, I wish to talk to this girl, or I wish to talk to this boy. So let's all pretend we have met in person and you have seen somebody nice. So look through the name list and just talk to anybody. Try and make a friend before, we close this program. And also, whilst they are giving their speeches, please note down all your questions. You can put them in the the chat session, or you write them down, okay? So that by the time they are done with their speeches, you don't forget your questions. All right, so I will introduce the first speaker. And her name, Maame Heer. Please, if I don't get your name right, forgive me, because actually this is the first time I'm hearing a name like that. And it's no wonder your profile is so, so great. Okay, so she is a policy analyst with also a background in clinical research and retail banking. She's currently a policy analyst for the government of Canada, an associate editor for the Canadian Law Review, and also a founder of the Power of Love Foundation. She has had diverse experiences with the various roles she has taken in her past and present encounters, both in the educational and working environment, and also as a volunteer. As we are therefore honored to have her as a speaker for today's leadership program, she will be speaking on the topic public speaking, right? Yeah. In the context of corporate sector, we are proud to have one of our very own who is putting Ghana on the map in our midst. So everybody, your speaker, the people. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Rosemary, for that eloquent introduction, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, depending on where you're joining from. As Rosemary beautifully introduced, my name is Maame Heer, and I will be speaking to you on the topic of public speaking. But before that, I just want to extend my utmost gratitude to the NUGS-CHINA for this amazing opportunity to be on your platform. I am humbled, I am grateful, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun today. I know Rosemary mentioned that it's going to be a speech, but I would like to deter from that a little bit. It's just going to be us talking to each other. It's going to be a very, very interactive session. So feel free to use the chat box, feel free to use the raise hand feature if you have a question, if there is something you'd like to add on to what I'm going to share today. So let's begin. I'll just like to share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you all so, so much. Okay, so the topic that I have for you today is how to be an effective communicator and confident speaker. I know that Martin is going to elaborate on the effective communication aspect, so I will take the latter, which is being a confident speaker. I'd like to share that I acknowledge that not everyone wants to be a public speaker. Not everyone is really interested in public speaking. However, there's one thing that is important and imperative. Even if you're not interested in public speaking, you have to be a confident speaker. Being a confident speaker is mandatory in whatever space you find yourself, whether being in the academic context, being in the corporate world, to mention but a few. It's expedient to be a confident speaker. And that is what I will be touching on today with the interest of time. Now, before I get to my, I'll just like to do a brief introduction on who this woman is. So as described, my name is Maame Heer, and I know a lot of people, the moment they see the last name, the first question they ask is, are you Ghanaian? Yes, I am 100% pure Ghanaian inside out. My last name stems from, okay, you know what, before we get into that, can someone put in the chat box and guess where I come from in relation to tribe, just by looking at my last name? Because I know someone, Rosemary said she's never seen that name before. So in the chat box, can someone guess? Fante Gideon, you got it right. I am Ewe. Hey, no. Kwamina. Okay, Kwamina, we will talk after the session, right? So I am 100% Fante. And as many of you might know, Fantes just have these interesting European names, and as a result of the history that we had with the Europeans migrating to Ghana and so on. So yes, I am Fante. I was born in Ghana, and I actually lived in Tema, and then migrated to Canada in my early teens. My educational background is focused on public health, where I got my bachelor's in public health, and I also attained my master's in public health from the University of Toronto. And my specialization was in social and behavioral health sciences, which is synonymously also known as health promotion. And I also did a dual collaborative specialization in global health, as well as health services and policy research. So as a result of my academic experience, I was able to land a role at the Government of Canada, where I'm specifically working with the Public Health Agency of Canada, serving as a policy analyst with the Mental Health of Black Canadians initiative. So besides that, I also have a grassroots initiative, or an NGO, as many would like to call it, and that's called the Power of Love Foundation Canada. And ideally what we do is we serve Black women and girls here in Canada by providing them with resources, skill build, knowledge, and so on, in order to enter the labor market. So we are currently having a program where it's women only, and we're just providing them with a ton and a plethora of skills and knowledge. So that's a little bit of background on who I am. So we'll just get straight into the presentation. What is my purpose today? My purpose ideally is to share information that will help you to effectively and confidently communicate your opinions, your thoughts, and your ideas. Once again, my purpose here is to help you, is to aid you to be able to effectively and confidently communicate your opinions, your thoughts, and your ideas. How many of us have found ourselves being in a position where what we think is not what we say? So for example, you're in front of your professor, you're in front of, let's say in a political space, even in such meetings like this, and you have the sentence in your head, you know what you want to say, but the way the sentence is coming out of your mouth, what you're saying and what you're thinking is not the same. Like there's a misalignment. If you're such a person, please put one in the chat box. Yeah, I see a lot of people saying me. It is true, and most of us have that experience. And hopefully today, my session will be able to help you to effectively communicate what you're thinking. So moving on, here is a fun fact. Did you know that public speaking is the second most feared thing after death? The second thing that people are scared of is public speaking. Some people will rather go 6 feet under than stand in front of people and speak. And 75% of people in the world today suffer from speaking anxiety. I'll let these facts rest with you. And I know some of us are here that also have speaking anxiety. If you call us to speak in front of people, it would take 3 days prayer and fasting with anointing oil, zumi, any kind of oil you can think of, just to get us in the position to speak, because speaking in front of people can sometimes be nerve-wracking. So once again, I just hope that my session today will be able to alleviate that stress or that anxiety that most of us feel when we talk to people. And please, let me just give a disclaimer. I am not your quintessential public speaker. And by that, I mean, I will throw jokes here and there because I like to lighten up the atmosphere. So pardon me, I don't want anyone sitting here looking at me saying, oh, this guy, I thought she was gonna come and give us some professional tips. And please, that's just not me. I like to balance it out. I'm more of an edutainment person, entertainment mixed with education. So please pardon me. Maybe Martin will give us the very professional aspect, but me, I'll ensure that I'll make you laugh as well as attain the knowledge that you need. So moving on. These interesting people on the screen, who can guess the man on the bottom right of the screen? The bottom right, the white man on the bottom right of the screen. Who can guess who that is? Can anyone take a wild guess? And feel free to put it in the chat box or feel free to me. Oh, you know him very well. We know him. The world knows him. Can anyone take a wild guess? Okay, so that's actually Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. Hey, Kwame, I also deal with you. Boy, okay. That's the current president of the United States, President Joe Biden. That's what he looked like, pardon me, at a very young age. Now, someone might wonder why I posted a collage of these three very famous people. You have the former president, Barack Obama, you have Ed Sheeran, and then you have the young President Joe Biden. Now, all these three people have one thing in common. What that is they used to have speaking anxiety as well. Ed Sheeran, when he plays love songs and all of you are rolling on your bed, touching your heart and all that, actually used to stutter at a very young age. Joe Biden also used to stutter at a young age. Barack Obama was actually an introvert at a very young age. But now you will realize that he has one of the best speeches you can find in the world. And I just posted a collage of these three amazing people to let you know that these are people that were not the greatest speakers growing up. They actually had some challenges, or people would say deficiencies, that will inhibit and hinder them from being able to confidently communicate. But these people did not allow these things to hinder them and stop them, and they were still able to excel. So I put this here to encourage you that if you're someone here and you hate public speaking, but you want to be the next president of Ghana, you hate public speaking, but your friend said, even Zoom to speak, I know soon, and you want to run away. I just want to encourage you that it's a process, and you have to fixate it in your mind that you will go through that process in order to build yourself to become that confident speaker. So moving on. Now, I'm going to be sharing 10 key factors with you on how to be a confident speaker. And this is where I want you to grab your pens, your notebooks, your iPad, your phones, and jot some of these things down. 10 factors on how to be a confident speaker. Factor number 1, slay. Let me drink water. Slay. I know somebody is probably looking at me and saying, so I get away, I'm sure say, I'm going to say, oh, what's your presentation? So. And Emmanuel, please, if you want me to stop, I'll be more than happy. There was just please, slay. When I say slay, I don't mean in terms of like what we normally think of slay queens. What I mean is appearance. Appearance speaks. Before you even open your mouth, your outfit, your hair, your makeup, your nails, everything has already spoken for you. How many times have we seen somebody walking down the street or even on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the moment we look at the person, we've judged the person's history, their present, their future. Sometimes you don't even know the person, but the moment you see the person, you're able to somehow predict the character of this individual. That is because appearance speaks. Whether it be virtually, whether it be in the physical space, it is important that you are appearing presentable. You are looking good. Because when you look good, you feel good. And a lot of ladies will tell you that the moment we step out of that hair salon and we get our hair done, it's over for you. We want to talk to everybody. Even if people don't want to talk to us, a bit show with street. So we want everybody to know that we look good. We want to be noticeable. And appearance gives you a certain level of confidence. Men will also say the same thing. When a guy gets a haircut and he gets that nice sideburn and the shaping of the hair, their whole countenance and self-esteem changes. And that is because your appearance helps to boost your confidence. So even before you speak, your appearance has already spoken. So I want you to bear this in mind that anytime you find yourself, whether you're being called for a speaking engagement, you are somewhere, it's important that you were looking presentable because your appearance speaks and your appearance could affect how you confidently communicate. Second, your voice tone and your body language. So my question to you, and you guys can put this answer in the chat box. Which of these communicates the least? Your words, your voice tone, or your body language? You can put the answer in the chat box. Which of these communicates the least? Is it people's voice tone? Is it your body language, or is it your words? I'll be waiting. If I get about 5 responses, then I'll move on. Okay, someone said voice tone, body language, words. One more. Come on, we're 30 here. Everybody should be blasting the chat box. Which of these? Okay, so people said voice tone. Okay, so it will shock you that statistics shows that your words communicate the least. Your words only have 7% of communication and impact on people. What actually matters most is your voice tone and your body language. Research shows that your voice tone communicates 38% of communication. And your body language, sorry, I'm just trying to, 1 second. Your body language communicates approximately 55%. 55, so it means that right now, me talking to you guys, although I'm speaking, what is really effectively communicating with you is my voice tone and my body language. How many times have you been speaking to your, let's say your parents, and I know most of these things happen in the African setting, and just the way your body language speaks, the first thing your mom will ask you is, "Assembly now kind." Maybe you didn't even open your mouth to say anything, but send your work time when you know that alone speaks for itself. Having a monotone voice can be very detrimental. Imagine if I came here and I said, voice tone and body language communicates and touch people, 7% of impact of one human body. Variation of voice, enthusiasm, love. That is not effective communication, but it's the way you're enthusiastic in your voice, the passion you show through your voice, that alone is able to captivate the attention of people. Your body language, are you making eye contact? Or are you constantly running your hands through your hair? Or are you looking somewhere? Or are you actually looking in the eyes of the person to communicate? Even sometimes to even get a job, they'll tell you that your handshake, the way you shake somebody, is a justification of whether they'll give you the job or not. Body language. Is your handshake very weak or is it firm? Does it show that this is somebody that is ready to take on the position? So I want you to bear in mind that anytime you're communicating, speaking with people, ensure that your voice tone and your body language is speaking. As long as you have that covered, your words are are received properly by the person you're communicating with. Please alert me if I'm going over time or how many minutes I have as well. Now, the third thing, preparation. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Anytime you're called to speak somewhere, sometimes when I get called for speaking engagements and I'm on a panel with people, I get very surprised and shocked as to the lack of preparation that people invest when it comes to speaking in front of others. The two ways to prepare is, number one, know your audience. The way I would talk with members of NUGS-CHINA is not the same way I'll talk if I'm in front of Pentecost elders. The way I might interact with maybe, let's say, and I sing at church, so let me use that as an example. Even the way I will sing at ICGC is not the same way I will sing at Christ Apostolic. Why? Because the audience is different. So at all times, if you're called to speak, if you're called to make a presentation, even if you're talking with either a group of 5 or even a group of 1, know your audience. Most of the time when I'm invited to a public speaking session where I'm not familiar with the audience, the first thing I ask is, what is the demographic? Is it mainly females? Is it mainly males? What is the age group, and so on? It really helps to tailor your context or your presentation to the audience. Secondly, know your content. Nothing is more cringy than standing in front of people and not knowing what you're talking about. Because normally what people are going to do is, what would they do? They'll ask questions at the end of your presentation. And if you have no idea what your content is, it even makes your communication very, very difficult, which could ideally affect your confidence. I know most of us have been students before, and most of us have found ourselves doing a presentation where we had no idea what we're talking about. And you can ideally see how when you're presenting and you don't know what you're talking about, your confidence level is quite low as compared to if you're presenting on something that you're quite confident about. So please prepare anytime you find yourself in interaction or communicating. Number 4, be yourself. Please be your authentic self. There is no need to be using UK accent, US accent. If Ghanaian accent is what you have, please, my sister, my brother, rock it confidently. If you have a Nigerian accent, if you have an African accent, please try to be yourself. Sometimes I watch TV and I watch certain content and you can see that this person is not being their authentic self. And people can read when you're not authentic. They can read when, ideally, the way this person is speaking, this person is trying to be someone else. So I would say, and I actually made a post yesterday on LinkedIn about how when I migrated to Canada, I was teased because of my accent. And I tried to add the Canadian accent and it wasn't working. And eventually I said, you know what, let me stick to my identity and who I am. And these are my 2 favorite quotes, one from Maya Angelou, and I'll just read the first one with the interest of time, by John Ford. He said, you can speak well if your tongue delivers the message of your heart. You can be a confident speaker if your tongue can deliver the and being genuine. So I'll just advise us all to be our natural selves, be your confident self anytime you find yourself communicating or public speaking in front of people. Number 5, the big one that many of us might still be having challenges with. And I'm also part of this and I'm working on it. Eliminate, sorry, pardon the spelling error. Eliminate filler words. What are filler words? Like, so, you know. Some people will be talking to you. No matter, you know, by 100. So, you know, me, when I came to NUGS, you know, NUGS-CHINA, you know, what we do, you know, is that we help Ghanaian students, you know, in China, you know, it's like for NUGS, I just that we don't know. So please try to eliminate, you know, from your sentences and your statements. Sometimes we will say a sentence, not the that we've said is even more than the sentence itself. So today is Saturday. What's today is the Saturday, April 23rd. Hey, go straight to the point. And what has helped me specifically with eliminating filler words is pacing myself. Pace yourself. Take your time. Nobody's running after you. Take your time. Nothing sucks more than public speaking and you're rushing through your information. Pace yourself. I was going to speak a very bad language, but you brought one by one. I was going to say remove the English one by one. I can speak tree, right? But lay the English, don't rush. Just take your time, pace yourself. And I realized that anytime I pace myself, I'm able to remove the the filler words and so on. So for example, anytime I feel like I'm going to say I pause a bit and then I'm able to go to my next sentence. Also, reading aloud helps. Grab a book. Even if you see a post on Facebook, a post on LinkedIn, a post on Instagram, and there's a caption, read it aloud to yourself. Reading aloud helps you to be very familiar with a lot of vocabulary. And now when you're communicating, you're able to eliminate these filler words. So today we're going to make a promise to ourselves that we're going to work on the arms, we're going to work on the souls, we're going to work on the you knows, because I know a lot of people here are going to be great future leaders. And you cannot be in the Kufuado's position and say 20 times. So we're all going to work on that, and this is going to be a progress. Number 6, have mentors. Have people that will mentor you. Have people that can guide you. And I'm so humbled to share that these two amazing people have mentored me, especially in the angle of public speaking. On the left is Mr. Jerry Ajololo, and he's one of the top-notch MCs in Ghana, and mainly most of the sessions he does, I would say, or the events he hosts are mostly presidential events, corporate, and so on. And on the right, who needs no introduction, Anaba Namwa has also been very, very helpful. So have people who can mentor you. If you see somebody and you feel like, no, this person, the way they speak, you're very good, you're very eloquent, eliminate that fear and reach out to them, because I know that there are a plethora of people that are around the world that are even in our circles that can also help us to hone our public speaking or confidence speaking and communication skills. Number 7, be open to criticism. If you're going to be a public speaker or a confidence speaker, you will receive criticism. People would come to you and say, Jack, this thing that you are saying, one kind of try to adjust this more. And you should be open to that, because that is the only way that you will grow. I have personally been in sessions where Nana Banamwa would be there and I wouldn't know. And she would be at my sessions. And then after the session, she'll literally send me a detailed message and say, don't say this, don't say that. You said this wrongly. Next time, do this. And sometimes criticism could sting. Nobody wants to be criticized, but you have to also look at it in the aspect that it helps you to grow. It helps you to develop as a person. Moving on, use resources. There's a myriad of resources in the world that can help you to be a confident speaker as well as a public speaker. There's Toastmasters International. I don't know if they have Toastmasters in China. They should have, but this is a club that is global. Join a Toastmasters club. It's a public speaking club that helps you to hone your public speaking skills. Secondly, Mr. Phillips, can you please mute your mic if you can? Awesome. Secondly, Clubhouse. Clubhouse has helped a lot of people to enhance, develop their confidence, to be able to communicate effectively. You can join Clubhouse, it's free. Now you don't need anyone to nominate you. It helps you to alleviate that anxiety that comes with speaking in front of people. 4, books. Reading books also helps. I know that right now, we would rather read Facebook posts, LinkedIn and Instagram captions than pick up a book and read, but grab a book, something that is of interest to you, because it helps you to enhance your vocabulary as well. And some of the other tools that I use when it comes to public speaking are Power Thesaurus and Rhyme Zone. These two have been lifesavers for me. Anytime I'm writing essays, preparing for a presentation, preparing for a speech, I use Power Thesaurus. And what Power Thesaurus does is it gives you synonyms, antonyms, idioms, and so on that can help you to write either an effective essay or effectively communicate. Then you have Rhyme Zone as well, which also gives you adverbs, adjectives, rhymes, and so on and so forth. So use these resources to your benefit because there's a myriad of them out there. Number 9, learn to make an elevator pitch. I think someone's mic is unmuted. So if
Maame, you are muted, so you can unmute yourself.
Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. Learn to make an elevator pitch. What is an elevator pitch? Communicating your ideas, your thoughts, your vision in less than 3 minutes. The question I'll ask you is, if you were to see, you were in an elevator and you were to see Bill Gates in the elevator, what would be the first thing you tell him? Will you say, hey, Bill Gates, I've followed you for so long. Come on, let's get a selfie. Or are you going to pitch that business in your mind that you've been having for so long? I know most of us here would take selfies. It's okay. But elevator pitches are important, especially for entrepreneurs. If you're here and you want to be an entrepreneur or own your own business, please put 1 in the chat box. I want to see something. If you're here and you want to own your own business, or you already own your own business, or you want to be an entrepreneur, just put me or 1 in the chat box. So we see Kwame now, we see Thompson, Gideon. Okay, awesome. If you are an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you have to have an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is literally less than 3 minutes, just communicating what you want to do, your ideas, your thoughts, your business plan. And you have to also use the who, what, where, why, how method when you're given an elevator pitch. So for example, an elevator pitch ideally is, I am in this space, because we know a lot of wealthy and rich people, they don't have time. I am in this space with someone. How do I effectively communicate my idea or my business plan that will be in a captivating way that will make somebody like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett want to even invest in my business? So I want to try an elevator pitch. Can someone put, okay, let me ask Thompson. Thompson, what business do you want to be in? We're going to try an elevator pitch.
I'm already in a business where we help students to, we help to bridge the gap between the corporate world and that of the educational world. Hence, we employ students to be on our platform and work for companies that need students or that need workers. So at the end, we stand in as a liaison between corporate world and students.
Awesome. And what's the name of your business, if I may ask?
We Train Solutions.
Sorry, say it again.
We Train Solutions.
Can you please put it in the chat box?
We train solutions.
We train solutions. Okay.
Right.
And how would you, if somebody wants to invest in your business, how would you want them to invest in it? Where do you want them to invest in? What area?
Well, the investment will not be money, but it will be of someone who has link with a lot of companies that we can get in touch with.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Thompson. Thank you so much. And I hear I have 10 minutes. Trust me, I'm going to be done in a very, 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 very short time. Okay, so Thompson has given us an example of his business called WeTrain that serves to bridge the gap between students and the corporate world. So and Thompson, please don't say you don't need money. We all need money. Even if there's an area that you meet an investor and they're willing to invest money in your business, never say no to that. You can always put that money somewhere else within your business, okay? So let's say that Thompson was in an elevator and he saw Bill Gates in the elevator. Based on what Thompson has just described to me, this is how an elevator pitch will sound if I was in Thompson's shoes. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, Mr. Gates. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Emmanuel Thompson, and I'm actually the founder of a growing business called WeTrain. And ideally, what we do is we bridge the gap between students as well as professionals in the corporate world. And based on our statistics, we've been able to align a lot of about 10% up to 50% of students in the corporate world. And I know that currently, as the owner of Microsoft, you will be able to help and support us, not just in investments, but in also giving many of our students opportunities. Our students are very well versed in different areas such as IT, business, to mention but a few. And based on their experience, we believe that they will be well qualified for your company. Here's my business card. You can write your email at the back of the business card, and I look forward to hearing from you. Simple, 3 minutes, straight to the point. I don't think Bill Gates will reject that. Now, you were able to state your purpose. And mind you, for most of these investors, they also want to know, what do you bring to them? So you're able to state your purpose. You've even been able to state the success of your business, to say that between 10 and 50% of students have been able to be bridged into the corporate space. So I would advise every business owner, make sure you are a walking elevator pitch, because you never know who you're gonna meet. Maybe the next person you meet is the person that will change the destiny of your business. I just wanted to share that. Number 10, and that is the last factor on how to become a confident speaker. There is more, but because I had a very limited time, I wanted to share just 10. When in doubt, over communicate, don't assume. And I think this is where I'll talk to my ladies. Please, if he's not texting you, don't assume that he doesn't want you anymore. Hallelujah. Don't just assume. When in doubt, overly communicate. And I tell my ladies all the time that ask questions, get clarifications. If someone says something and you don't understand, even if you are in an interview and you don't understand what is the question that is being posed, seek clarification. It's better to clarify than just assume that this is what the person was communicating. Because mind you, what the person can communicate is different from how you understand what you're communicating. So for me, especially when I'm in the corporate space, when my manager says something to me, and although I hear it, I might understand it a different way. So what I say is, hey, this is what you're saying. And I tend to repeat to her what she says. So for example, she says, Maame, write for us a 10-page report, just like that. In my mind, I want to know, okay, 10-page report, will it be on how do you want me to do? Would you want me to add references and so on? So I go again and ask for clarification. I try to over-communicate to ensure that I am understanding what that person or that individual is saying. So like I said, when in doubt, please over-communicate, over-clarify, ask questions. I know most of us were raised in an African setting where sometimes when you ask too much questions, they will say you're called multiple names, but don't be hesitant. It's better to clarify than to just assume. So I hope that these 10 factors and many more of the things that were shared today has helped you to an extent to boost your confidence when it comes to public speaking. Once again, like I shared, not everyone desires to be a public speaker, but it is expedient to be a confident speaker. And just to go over the 10 tips I shared, number 1, slay. Your appearance matters a lot. Be mindful of your voice tone and your body language, because that communicates more and has impact on people when interacting. 3, prepare. You prepare by 2 things: knowing your audience and knowing your content. Number 4, be yourself, be authentic. 5, eliminate filler words like so, in your sentences. And you can do that by pacing yourself and reading out loud. Number 6, have mentors. Number 7, be open to criticism. Although criticism could sting, it helps you to grow as an individual. 8, use resources like Power Thesaurus, Toastmasters International, Rhyme Zone, Clubhouse, to mention but a few, reading books to help you to develop your confident public speaking skills. 9, learn to develop an elevator pitch. Even whether you have a business or not, always try to develop an elevator pitch, because you never know who you're going to meet. And lastly, when in doubt, over communicate. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. Normally at the end of my slides, I have my social media and stuff there, but feel free to connect with me either via LinkedIn, via Instagram, via Twitter, and the name there is Maame Heer. Thank you once again, NUGS-CHINA, for this amazing opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Rosemary, you can take over. I think.
Yes, thank you. You initially muted me. All right. So thank you very, very, very much, Maame. I am sure by now people are already looking for audience so that they can exhibit their skills. This is very much, thank you. I mean, even for me, there are times I rehearse my presentations so well in the room. Oh, so much confidence. But the moment I see my own classmates, hey, I don't even want to go there. So thank you so much. And please, she has given us lots of ideas, especially with the fact that she gave us use resources. She has given us, I think, Maame, you can later tell us those resources again, if in case somebody didn't write them down, like the Toastmasters, the Clubhouse, the books, and the rhyme zones and all those things here. I am very much interested in it. So yeah, I think for a minute, I feel very, very confident. Anyways, we should move on. Please, just as I said, if you do not want to forget your questions, please put them in the chat box or write them down, because after the second speaker is done, we are going to have questions. So I am going to introduce our second speaker, and his name is Aseidu Dartey. So with over 10 years experience as a broadcast journalist, Aseidu Dartey has been very passionate about telling stories with the intent of transforming lives and society. He is a traveling scholar with a master's degree in international journalism for digital media from the UK. He has given several reportages in the areas of politics, business, sport, and human rights. As a multi-platform journalist, he has served as a writer, producer, and reporter for TV, radio, and online platforms. He has also worked for Manchester United as part of a research team gathering global data for the club's new website. He's also into public relations and media consultancy, and founded McKinney Mara Media Consult, an agency that focuses on promoting individual and corporate brands through conventional and modern media platforms with tailor-made content for domestic and global audiences. We are therefore elated to have him in our midst today. And we will also use this opportunity to wish him a happy, happy birthday. So please, let's fill the chat box with a happy birthday too. Mark, today I didn't drink tea. I would have sung for you. So yeah, you're welcome and a happy birthday to you, please. The platform.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Wow. I would want to say a big thank you also to Maame. I think that was an awesome, mentally stimulating presentation. You know, I like the practicality of it because then it gets you to think and know the do's and don'ts when it comes to public speaking. Coincidentally, I think the subject matter is very similar. We are all talking about communication and the right way to do it. Because interestingly for me, within the space that I've worked, I have seen and been one person who's done all the wrong forms of communication. And over the years, I have learned how to do it and do it right. So I think that a number of the things Maame said are on point. You should keep them, as you say here, in your knees. That place, then nobody can get access to it or use it or steal it from you. So those are very important points. And pardon me, because I am using my phone, there's a possibility people might be interrupting because I was born today. So just pardon me and let me just go straight to the presentation. Thank you again to Thompson and the leadership of NUGS-CHINA, the Shanghai chapter. I am very happy to have been asked to do this. In the field of communication, I think we all know that everyday talk, either to yourself or to someone or to a group of people, is deemed communication. However, there are differences in how we do it. Thompson will be sharing the slides that I'll be using, and then we can go straight into it. But then I just want to, give this preamble, which is that that most of you are students who are studying in various fields. You definitely be coming out to various leadership positions, or like Maame said, some of you have your own businesses, so you're going to be leaders in that business. You are going to be having people you're going to be working with. How do you communicate effectively to ensure that the information you are giving is for an intended purpose? The person to whom that information is being sent understands it and actually executes whichever information, action you are expecting. So we go to the first slide there, and it goes without telling that even here on this platform, we are communicating. So we ask, what exactly is the definition of communication? I'm sure that Maame touched on it briefly, but the definition is pretty simple and straightforward. Communication is simply giving out information to a specific person or group of people, expecting that there will be an action. And so it's simply the act of transferring information from one person or a group to another. Every communication involves at least a sender. There is a message that is being sent, and then there is a recipient, at the end of that information that is being sent. It is also understood to be the day-to-day talk and discussions we all engage in, to ourselves, to our siblings, your family, your father, your mother, anybody that you come in contact with, so far as you're using words or actions to transmit information, that in itself is communication. All right, the next one. And because of the time, this subject, and like Maame said, the time is limited. This subject is really very broad. So what we are doing is to give you the very necessary basics that you need to launch out there and be, fantastic communicators. It is also information intended to reach a receiver who must act or take action. See, so it's there are times you soliloquy, which is talk to yourself. Even that is information. Sometimes when you're talking to yourself, you are encouraging yourself to do something or not to do something. That in itself is communication. So personally, you talk to yourself, and then when it goes to other people, all of that can be categorized as communication. And then you need to be effective and efficient for better, smooth functioning of an organization. Like I said in my earlier statements, some of you are going to be owning businesses and working with businesses. You're going to be in leadership positions. You're going to be having people work under you, or you're going to be working under people. Whichever way it goes, or whichever place you find yourself, you definitely will be giving information and taking information. If it is done effectively, it sums up to the total success of the company or organization. And I'm talking in perspective of you people being, or all of us finally finding ourselves in leadership positions. Now, if you're in a leadership position, it is incumbent on you to know when to communicate and how to do it and do it effectively. The next slide. So how do we do all of this effectively? There are a number of things we need to pay particular attention to. And the first one will be that effective communication is defined, so we have defined what communication is. Now we want to look at the effective one, right? So we know communication is talking and receiving information or giving information to someone for an action to be taken. But how do we do it effectively? And the effective communication is defined as communication between two or more persons in which the intended message is, one, supposed to be encoded, properly encoded, meaning that what you are giving the person is properly clear. There isn't any ambiguity about what you are telling the person, or there is no confusion in the message you are sending out there. It is clearly opened for the person receiving it to understand that this is what I have been told. And like Maame said, if even you do not understand, you should be able to ask questions, ask for follow-ups to be sure that what is expected of you is what you're going to do. Next one. Also, your expected effective communication is delivered through appropriate channels. Now, this is important because in leadership position, and I'm going to be having a few examples within the journalism space, because of course, that's the space in which I play. If you want to communicate effectively, you should know the target audience. And if you know your target audience, you will know which channel better suits them, right? So if you go to a rural area where there is no television set, for instance, and you need to give those people information, you cannot put your information on TV or in the newspapers and expect that it will reach them. You would have missed the point. So you know that the appropriate channel to get to people in rural communities would either be through the gong beater or the chief's spokesperson, or using community vans, go around and use the loudspeakers to send that information. And even then, you need to deliver it in the language that the people understand. We'll come to that. So yes, it must be delivered through the appropriate channel, and you must know which channel suits the target audience. And then for your communication to be effective, you should also then be sure that it has been received, right? That is when you ask them, have you understood what I'm saying? Then you can even ask for questions if they have. By so doing, you, the person communicating, would understand that your audience have received and understood what you're saying. Yeah, next one. Yes, so it goes back to the earlier point that the information you are sending, the audience should properly decode and understand what information it is you are giving them. Now, if you, for instance, tell a child, go and bring water, and the child doesn't understand it and probably just goes away, you'll be sitting there waiting forever. But because you are hopeful that your communication is effective, immediately that information is delivered, the person who has received it or the recipient should be able to act on it and do that which is expected. Okay, the next one. And while this is ongoing, kindly feel free to put your questions in the comment section, or hopefully when we are all done, we can have some chit chat, and I'll be glad to answer all your questions for you. So in other words, communication is said to be effective when all the parties, that is the sender and receiver in the communication, assign similar meaning to the message and listen carefully to what all have been said and make the sender feel heard and understood. So I hope that up until this point, I have communicated effectively, as in I have given you the basis of what communication is and what effective communication is. All right, on to the next one. So if you, I'm hoping that you understand what I'm saying. If you do understand, then I am making progress by communicating effectively. So what are the types of communication we have? Maame has given a number of examples. And like I said, there are similarities in both our presentation. However, the items that Maame outlined or listed are extremely important. So you need to take them seriously. These ones I am giving are more or less when you find yourself in a certain position, you need to know your stuff. Maame talked about content and the subject that you're going to be talking about. That is also a very important issue we could talk about later. But for now, we want to look at the types of communication that we have. So what are the types of communication? There is clearly the verbal and non-verbal communication. Yes, you can just tap on them so they come out. So there's verbal and non-verbal. Clearly, you would know that verbal is like, for instance, what I'm doing when you can hear a voice. Then there is a non-verbal, which is more, for instance, those who use sign language, or when you wink at someone. All of that are forms of communication. So there is verbal, non-verbal. There is formal and informal. We'll give a few differences to this. And then also there is downward and upward communication. There are several others, but I think these are the key ones for us, considering the fact that we are, students mid to upper level. When we hopefully come out of school or even while in school, we will be communicating. So we need to know some of these basics of the very important subject of communication. So what's verbal communication? This refers to the form of communication in which a message is transmitted with the voice or the mouth. So I am speaking and you can hear me. I think that one is self-explanatory, like you can clearly understand what it is I'm saying. Verbal communication. And for verbal communication, you need to understand the language of your audience, and your audience must also understand the language in which you're communicating. And example, you guys are in China. I'm sure on your first days that you got there, they were speaking. You could hear the voices and the language they were speaking, but you probably had no idea apart from xie xie, which means thank you, and ni hao. Those primary ones. I'm sure you all probably had an idea of what they meant in Ghana before you went there, but some of you, I'm sure, couldn't hold a simple conversation for a minute or two. And you, what's it? I'm sure all of you did a bit of that when you got to China in the very early days. But it was because, in as much as they were trying to communicate, you didn't understand them because of a language barrier. So if you find yourself in a position to teach someone, or to send information or to communicate, make sure that the language is understood both ways. They understand what you're saying, and then you also understand it when they give you feedback. Yeah. Next one. Your choice of words, the choice of words you use. So if, I'm sure you are all in various fields. Some of you are doing medicine, some of you are doing banking, mathematics, science, all of that. Within every field, there are specific words that suit that field. So when you meet a group of bankers, the language is different. When you meet a group of lawyers, the language is different. When you as a lawyer or even as a student meet people in primary school or JHS or in kindergarten, the language you use or the choice of words should be different. So you can't go and be speaking big vocabulary to people who probably don't even know how to spell their own names. You would have been totally miscommunicating. So choice of words are very important. Look at the audience, and then you can know the appropriate words you can use for them. And like Maame said, it is crucial to know your audience and then know your content. That you will be acing whichever communication that you have. And then inflection. I also heard Maame talk about it. That's why I mentioned earlier that there are similarities in in the program we are having today. Inflection, there is monotone. Someone can just talk to you and the voice is flat throughout. And then there are others who can go up and down. That is what you call inflection. So if you want to excite people, you don't go and be talking one flat line. Welcome to the program. My name is Martin. That you would have killed it right from the onset. No, you don't want that. You want to, hello, welcome. Ah, you all look good. I see someone here who looks familiar. Hello, how are you? All the ups and downs that you use in the presentation or during your communication are vital because one, it catches the person's attention. Two, it excites them to want to listen and get more from you. And then it opens the doorway for you to reach out to them to get exactly whatever it is you're telling them. So keep these notes in mind whenever you're going to be doing a verbal communication, right? So the next one. Then again, your tone, right? Your tone. If you meet someone and then immediately you open your mouth like hyping, hey, what are you people doing here? The shock alone will get them to either turn away from you or call the police on you. Because the tone you're using to verbally reach out to them is either offensive or scary. So you need to choose your tone wisely in as much as you consider even the words and actions you use, right? The next one. And then there you go. Gestures, body language, and even visual. So when you're talking to someone and you're looking the person in the eye, statistics show that when people are talking to you and they're looking at you in the eyes, there is a probability that what they are saying is true, or there is a higher chance of truth in what they are saying when they are looking directly in your eyes. But when the person is looking somewhere sideways, trying to, all of that, it gives a different vibe. And then your body language, like Maame said, there are various studies that show that your words alone actually count the least, but your body language and then your tone gets people to either stay in tune with you or cut you off, although they are probably sitting right in front of you. So these are very essential points you need to keep in mind anytime you're going to be having verbal communication. I hope we are still in time. What's the time now though? Is 1 o'clock Ghana time. So I've done how many minutes, Thompson? I just hope that I don't overrun my time so we can get most of you to also be part of the conversation. So what's non-verbal communication? Non-verbal communication are those made mostly through wordless or unspoken mediums. So like I mentioned, people who use sign language. I'm sure you know them, those who do these, they are communicating, but mostly when they do that, you don't hear any sound. I actually was fortunate to chance upon two people who were both deaf and dumb, and they were having a conversation. And it was very quiet, but the action alone gives you the impression that these guys are having a good time chatting, or they're having an argument. Imagine two people using sign language to argue. You might end up slapping someone if you get a bit angry. But then, yes, that is an example, a typical example of non-verbal argument. Yeah, the next one. Oh, okay, so 12 minutes, so I need to rush through it. So now let's come to the next set of communication, which is formal. Now, formal communication are those that are quote unquote official in nature. Information is carried through predetermined or predefined channels recognized by the organization. Example, use memos, emails, newsletters. That one is seen as a formal, official communication. I'm sure it's straight to the point. When the school wants to get through to students, they use email. That is formal because they don't want it to be said somewhere that you didn't hear or you didn't know what the school was talking about. So they want to be sure that they reach you, and they use very formal means. Or notice boards is also another formal way of communicating to people. Most of these are found in institutions and organizations, and that is where my focus is regarding what effective communication is. Yes, the next slide. So the opposite of formal, informal communication, normally done without recognized channels, and most among colleagues. And again, it is a very good example of information that you can't track, or communication that you can't track, mostly gossip, hearsay, not necessarily bad, but then it just gives you the idea that there are informal ways of communicating. So if you're in an organization and maybe you go to work one day and they say there's all the staff members are going for a retreat and you didn't hear it, it probably may be because you didn't check the notice board or check your email or go through the right channels of getting this information. You probably were totally lost. However, if you go to work one day and you realize that everybody is doing something and you are lost, just you and a few friends, it means you guys were not part of an information that may have gone round and you have missed the memo. So that, who do you blame? Or you hear something, you say, hey, have you heard? A lot of the have you heard and the gossips or the information that go around are termed or all fall under informal communication, because you can't defend it anywhere or show proof of evidence that such an information was given to you by anyone. Mostly, if it is an organization or an institution, if they want it to be formal, there are channels they use. If it is an informal conversation or information or communication, you really can't trace the channels that are used to send out those informations. Yeah. Next one. Yeah, so we are still on types. Now, I talked about downward communication, and then there is upward communication. So I'll run through them briefly. So downward communication, like the name suggests, information that come from the top bottom. So downward like this, an authority at the top that sends information to people who are down listening. So the definition will come on your screen shortly and you see it. This is why communication flows from people higher up to those at lower levels. So your boss communicating to you and your colleagues, that is a downward type of communication. When the teacher or lecturer speaks to the class, that is more like downward communication. So it's from an authority to a group of people or people who are like subordinates. Downward communication can be both oral and written. Clearly so, because when the teacher is in front of you, that is oral communication. When a memo is sent or an information is put on the notice board, that is formal communication on the public notice board to the many students or many workers in an institution to see and be in the know of what is happening. Yeah, the next one. Then we probably can give an example of so still on downward communication, it is the oral communication media are, for example, instructions, speeches, meetings, telephonic talk, when they use loudspeakers, and also use the grapevine to give information to you. So yeah, we'll move on to the next one. I'm sure that should be what, so downward communication is also called intrusive type of communication system. All right, the next one. So you're now talking about upward communication, and it is naturally the reverse of downward communication. Just give me a second. All right, so we go on. So what is upward communication? It's naturally the reverse of what I mentioned earlier. So upward is more like apologies, like I told you, because it's a birthday, a lot of things are happening around you, but forgive me. So upward information is known as subordinates initiate communication and try to reach out to people at the top, which is naturally the reverse of downward. This is upward. So people who are at the lower level trying to reach out to people at the high level. Unlike the downward communication, upward communication is non-directive in nature. It's usually non-structured. So a typical example is normally when information is from the top coming down, it's specific. Tomorrow, all of you should wear red. Or tomorrow, we are all going for this and that, specific. When it is from the bottom up or from the lower level to the upper level, there is a possibility that it is it's not directed at a specific person. You know, it could be like when generally there is an upheaval or the people in the office in an organization are angry about something or want to reach out to management. Usually it's not directed. You know, it's a bit more scattered. So they have to come up, mass up, start saying, everybody is talking, it's not structured before maybe when there's a formal meeting, they can put their information across. So depending on where you find yourself, you need to know which type of information or communication strategy you use. On to the next page. Right. How do we develop these if we want to be sure that we are communicating effectively? We know the types of communication that there are. How do we make sure that we do that effectively? We need to ask ourselves these questions to be sure that we are on the right page or we are approaching the communication properly. First, why do you want to communicate? What's the reason? What do you want to give out? What exactly is the purpose or essence of this information you're going to be giving out? So you are Thompson, you have a company, you call for a company meeting with your staff. What is the purpose of this meeting, right? So it means clearly you know, or there should be an agenda of what exactly you want them to know about or take action on. So before you call for a meeting or stand somewhere to speak or address an audience, know what the purpose is. The next one. And anytime you have the opportunity to address people or to go and speak anywhere, these questions can be guidelines. They help you hone in or fine tune what exactly it is that you want to say. To whom do you want to communicate? Who are the audience? Who are your target audience? Are they primary school kids? Are they chief executives? Are they footballers? Are they swimmers? Are they, even if you say students, are they science students? Are they math students? And even then, there are still further layers of specificity, you know, so you should know who your audience are. Then you can channel or probably craft your message to meet their needs. So that's another important question. Know your audience, or who are they? If you know them, it would help you properly craft your message. What do you want to communicate? The message. The message. As a broadcaster, there have been times I've been told that you can have a very, very good message, very important information, but if you do not communicate it well, you'll miss the point. And then there are times that you have a very bad message, but then the process or the way you go about communicating it could help you get a good reaction from your audience. So be sure of the message you want to put out there. Do your research, put things in place, and be sure that whatever information you're giving out to the people is beneficial to them or is intended to take the right action for the benefit of both the organization or yourself. The next one. Okay, wow, I say 30 minutes has ticked by so quickly. I have 2 minutes to go. So what do you want to communicate? So what communication channels are you going to be using, right? Like I mentioned, if you're going to use loudspeaker, that is one channel. If you're using emails, that's one channel. If you're going to be standing in front of an audience, that is another channel. But be sure you know the channel that you're going to use to send your message across. It's the next one. And whom should you contact and what should you do to these to use those channels? How will you distribute the message? And I think that one is also self-explanatory, like the other ones I mentioned, where you need to be sure of which channels you're using so that when the information is used through that channel, there is the certainty that that information has gone down well. You can do an assessment or a review after to see whether you've achieved success. But then before you even start or let the first syllable slip out of your mouth, know these things. They are very helpful. Next one, please. Right, so these are the action points that I want us to take away from this brief conversation we have had. Identify the purpose of your communication, right? know why you're going to be talking, because there are people, I'm sure we all know people who they talk amiss. They every time they are saying something, they know everything, they know everyone, they just start talking. But then there are a few people that anytime they talk, you want to listen because there are people like you trust, you know that what this person is coming to say carries weight. So I'd listen. Identify your audience. That helps you hone in on how to craft your message to the specific audience. Next one. These ones you can just tap, 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 so that everybody can see them. Yes, plan and design your message. Consider your resources. Take me a step back. Yeah, plan for obstacles and emergencies. So you can have your message in readiness. You've rehearsed, you are ready. You open your mouth, then there's light off. And you are the only one on stage, or you are the only one in front of the audience. How do you manage such situations? So you need to have played it in your mind. In case of an emergency, what do I do? What is my plan B? You want to use your laptop. In fact, this presentation was on my laptop. Just yesterday afternoon, the laptop crashed, but I said I still needed to talk to or engage with my people in China. So I'll have to find a way around it. When emergencies, crop up, how are you going to manage it? That is also one thing you need to keep in mind, and strategize how you will connect with the media and others who can help spread your message. And then last but not the least, take action. Deliver your message with a smile. That last line talks about body language. When you stand in front of a group of people to talk, your body language says a lot. When you smile, and depending on what you're delivering, if you're coming to deliver a funeral announcement or someone's death, you can't be broadly smiling that, oh, so-and-so died terribly. Can you imagine, and laugh afterwards? No, you need to be sure of the information you are giving out, and then the mood, and then use the necessary body language and facial expressions to deliver that message. The next one. And that is how we are wrapping it up. My time is almost done, but then simply put, the message, like I mentioned, is very important. Be sure of the content of your message and be sure that it is well thought through and easy to understand. Otherwise, you would have missed the point. And then also, communication is mostly centered around the receiver. So you know what you're going to say. I know this subject, and that is what I'm about to deliver. But I must be sure that what I'm about to say is beneficial to you, the listener, or the audience, or the recipient. So some experts have spelled communication as communication. And you can see it on your screen. It is about you or the receiver, because if you have information and you keep it to yourself, that is okay. But if you have information and you want someone to take action on the information, you need to consider that person strongly in your preparation, especially before you start. So on that note, I'd want to say a big thank you to all of you. That's my name on your screen there with that's my Instagram and Twitter handle as well. It's Newsy Martin. You can all get in touch. Let's connect and take the conversation upwards and onwards from here. Thank you, and do have a lovely day. Yes, so I think I'm open for questions. So I'm sure it's Emma as well. Thompson, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martin. Thank you very, very much. Communication, somebody is trying to say, how are you, Keke? Hey, you might think the person wants to beat you. So we have very loud people. Someone is talking on the phone in Trotro, and you get to hear everything. Yes. So it's very important. Thank you very much. Please, time is fast spent. Please, if you have any question, you can raise your hands or you go ahead and ask. You can put on your video, you can unmute yourself and ask. Okay, they are ready for you. Yeah.
So I think I saw a question.
I think, yeah, there is a question on the chat box.
Yes, I think the question was asking, where do you position, or the question was about what? Social media. Should social media be formal or informal, right?
Oh yeah, so first question, where do we situate social media messages or posts, formal or informal? Yeah.
Okay. And how seriously do we take posts from companies' social media accounts? How seriously should we engage our social media accounts? Twitter, Facebook, great. Okay, communication and beliefs about social media. How bluntly should you put out information so as not to tone down the seriousness of it? Okay, great question. And I'm sure Maame would also have a take on this. So let's talk social media. And I deliberately didn't mention social media because I was looking more at you as an individual addressing a group of people, right? So that one is more face-to-face or probably through other channels of communication. And talking about channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook are all very important channels of communication. Now, when a company tweets, and that is where verified accounts come to play. So you need to be sure, first of all, which institution or company is tweeting or Facebooking or putting that information out. If it is a verified account, then you can be certain that the information being put out there is legitimate. It would interest you to know that globally, a lot of media houses, the CNNs and the BBCs, rely heavily on social media for a number of their content. However, there are channels of verification to be sure that this information that they have received from this person or that company on social media is authentic. So when Osama bin Laden died, and this is in the news space, the first person to put it out there was someone who was living near a house where the bombing and the shooting had gone down. The person tweeted it quickly. People, and that's in Afghanistan. And then people within that space who were on social media saw it, started retweeting, resharing, and then CNN and BBC got wind of it. They asked people from the White House whether an operation was ongoing in Afghanistan, and they said yes. So then Twitter became a very important source for putting out information. It took the BBC several years to catch up with the fact that a lot of information or news breaks on social media, even before the conventional or regular media houses pick the information up. So it is important when information is put out through social media. However, you need to verify it. And if you're a company, as much as possible, try to get your account verified so that when you put out information, it can be taken seriously. Here in Ghana, President Akufo-Addo and his government, and I think before him, from President Mahama's government right up until now, every government since then have taken communication very seriously, especially social media communication. So there are people who've been appointed through social media. There are those who've been sacked through social media because the handle that puts it out or the Facebook account that posts it is a verified or credible channel. So you can put premium on it if it is coming from a verified channel. You as an institution, how do you put out information so it doesn't, a serious information so you don't get people thinking, playing it down and not taking it seriously? It then depends on even the tone. So the tone of communication is not only when you are speaking, but then also in the choice of words you use when you are tweeting or texting. So there are times you receive a message, and when you read it, you're actually reading it in the voice of the person so you sometimes put yourself in the shoes of the person who is sending it to you. If you guys had a fight a moment ago, and that message came in, you are reading it in the angry voice or perception of the person who sent it. But if it is you guys are having a funny, good laugh, and the person sends another message, even if it's an insult, you read it and laugh. So there is the commonality of knowing the circumstance under which a message is sent. So if you're putting out something, make sure that you choose the right words to carry the information, whether it's serious or not. The choice of words you use and the tone of the words is clearly what will make it, give it the necessary attention for people not to play it down. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yeah. So,
any other one?
Maame, please, if you have anything to add. Yeah. Any add-ons?
No, I think Martin has said it all. There were just a few other inquiries that I'm not sure. I think, sorry, Gideon had asked in terms of how serious we should engage with our social media accounts. And I would say it's subjective, right? And he asked in terms of communicating your beliefs about social issues, it's subjective. Personally, I am quite watchful about some of my opinions and perspectives on social issues. If it's not necessary, I will not post it. And most of the time, I think one of the things that has really helped me currently is the fact that I'm realizing that other people might share the same notions or sentiments that I do. So let me give you a perfect example. So Shade Room, if many of us might know the Shade Room, they post a lot of things that are going on in Black culture, Black hip hop, and so on. There are things I see and I want to comment. But when you look in the comments, you realize that somebody has already commented what you want to say. So I'm just like, okay, let that person handle it. I will not put my reputation on the line for that. So I would say this is where wisdom comes to play, and you have to be very selective and mindful. Some people are, they just feel like it's their opinions and they should share it. You should also be mindful of your future when it comes to things like that, right? Because we have seen in the current dispensation we are of how many renowned and magnanimous leaders who unfortunately, due to some comments they made many years back on your social media, now have to pay the price for it. So you should be very mindful of that in my little perspective. And I think the third one was how bluntly should you put information so as to not tone down the seriousness. I think this is also in relation to what I just answered in terms of just being mindful. I have a rule that when I feel uneasy about posting something and I have to double think about whether this thing I post will cause problems, I don't post it. There's a high possibility that if it will cause problems, then it will cause problems. I just try to stay away from that. So that is the little that I will share in terms of having the subjective view on that and just being mindful of your future as well and the impacts of what you share on social media could have on either your future careers or your future ambitions. So yes, that's my little input.
All right, thanks. Akwesi, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I would like to commend the organizers of this program. Well, so mine is a quick one. I just want to know, is there a limit to how much you can go with your hand gestures during public speaking? Because I've had a lot of friends giving me feedback that during my public speaking or when I'm presenting, I do throw my hands a lot. So I just want to know, is there a limit or way of overcoming such a thing? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pakwiti, for that question. It's a very important question. I used to be someone who used my hands a lot. And that's why tying in back with my presentation and also that with Martin's, I mentioned the importance of being open to criticism. I didn't know that I used my hands a lot every time I spoke. And I love nails. And before pre-public speaking, I used to wear like long nails. So apparently, and this my mom was the one that told me. She mentioned that when I speak, I throw my hands a lot, and because I had long nails, it looked like I was coming for the people in the audience. So I had to be very mindful of that and control the use of my hand gestures. So yes, there is a limit to using hand gestures. You also have to know the appropriate hand gestures that you use. Are you just, I'm not going to go into details. We as Ghanaians know that there are some hand gestures that are insulting. So you don't want to be using certain hand gestures when you're speaking, but you also want to control it. And I would say that maybe you can bear in mind, Pakwesi, if the statements you're making during your speech is something profound, use your hand, because that hand gesture could also add on and effectively communicate what you're trying to say. So it's like your words in alignment with your body language. So just bear in mind that anytime you're delivering a speech, doing a presentation, and there is something in your sentence that you know that, okay, I have to hit the nail on this, use hand gestures because it will help. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that's fine. And I think
let me just add a little bit to what Maame said. To be honest, it will depend on the people you are talking to, and then there are those who don't like it when you gesture too much, when you throw your hands or you use your gestures too much. However, like she said, you should be measured. Because you know you're going to be doing a presentation or talking to people, you must have rehearsed or gone through it. And through it, you would have then picked specific areas where you think I need to stress on this point. So if you're, and an example, if you want to talk about how big something is, you see, I use my hand to shoot big. And if it's a small area, you're also going to be touching on. You can use some of these to define and give examples of the things you're talking about. When you use gestures, it helps to draw people's attention to you. And then there are people who may not, for instance, TV. There are times when you're watching TV and maybe someone is on a phone, you mute it. And if you mute it and you're still watching, you can still get the information because of the facial expression or the gestures that are being used, on the screen. So it depends on you and then the people around you or the target audience. If you over gesticulate and you like a karate movie, that would be too much. But then be measured. Look at yourself and think and get to know that, oh, you're talking to people who are highly politically dressed, suits, people listening to you, the executive group of people. You go there, you're throwing your hands all about, you'd have missed the point. But if you're with a group of very young, funky guys, everybody jumping around, it's a high time. Now, when you're talking and then you're in the funky mode, it's also all right. So know the areas of when and specifically you can use these gestures. But as much as possible, one thing we probably both may have missed is practice, rehearse. And while you do that, you will be able to even catch yourself if you're doing something too much. If you are giving it, like I mentioned, bad news and you are smiling and you are even gesturing in a very offensive way, that wouldn't go down well with those who are receiving it. So be measured and be mindful of the people who are receiving the information, and then watch yourself. Sometimes just look at your mannerisms in the mirror, and you'll be able to tell whether for this, I should either put one hand in my pocket and use the other, or both hands should be by my side, but then move them gently. You can't also be stiff and be on the stage and be presenting, or whichever platform and be presenting. A bit of body language and gestures, are important. Just be measured in how much of it you use out there. Thank you.
Thank you too. Gideon. Please unmute.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so I want to ask a follow-up on my last question concerning social media. Sorry, my first question. Social media and how actively one should engage. Yeah, so I had this appointment with an American organization, and they asked for my LinkedIn link and then Facebook, apparently, to look at my profile. And later I was told it is to, check my personality further and also probably check like my views on LGBT. So probably I don't have any views, or for a long time I'd not been there or sharing any stuff, and it was like it was low on my, how do you call it? It was a low score for me not engaging enough. I don't know whether it's now a skill that should be, taken up. So that's why I asked. So first of all, in this modern world, how do is it something that you say, okay, I don't have any view or someone has said it, so let me be in my corner, or you should still try to be out there? Let me quickly add my questions for Maame here on her presentation so that it's addressed together. So first of all, how do you land mentors? Because for a mentor, it's someone respectable, someone, you know, in authority. And it's not easy, for instance, if you want to approach, how do you go about landing a mentor in the space of communication or any other thing, a mentor? Two, the use of tone. Where my mind was in terms of tone, okay, and the information or the knowledge I've received, I'm trying to juxtapose to see. When it comes to, you know, tone communicates more. I was also looking at the tone in terms of whether it's high or low or medium. For instance, I look at a tone like Bulare's tone on radio, and that of, bring your name, City of Benadavle. You know, Benadavle has, you know, a little tone, and Bulare has kind of, you know, muscular tone. If naturally you don't have that kind of radio tone, you don't have that tone that effectively communicates, what do? Do you train your voice to match a certain kind of tone, or you go with the flow? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. And I would take, I think the first one was in regards to being active on social media. And I would say that it's quite dependent on your role, right? Some roles do not really require, that's the word, require you to be as active on social media. I know for roles that entail communications and other director roles, they might want you to be active on social media, and for others, they don't. So going back to the question again, I would say that, yes, obviously it depends on the role. And well, in the Canadian context, I don't know about the States, but you don't need to have social media. It's not mandatory to have social media in order to work in some spaces. I can speak for the government myself. I have workers that really don't like social media and they would prefer staying away from it. So let's say, for example, in your instance where they had wanted to check your social media to see reviews, and it goes back to my point on reputation, right? So you really want to be mindful of some of the content you put out there. I know that we're in a dispensation where it's freedom of speech, people want to speak their mind, but you also want to be mindful about that. And also, Gideon, you also want to be mindful of the field you want to be in. So if it's a field that requires a lot of communication, then I would advise that use your social media, utilize it for your benefit. When I applied for my role as a policy analyst, I was not asked about whether I had a social media account. In fact, what I did was acknowledging, because before you get a job in the government, there's something called security clearance. So they go through, look at your record, check your social medias and so on. And I actually took a step and asked my manager of what the guidelines, social media guidelines is with the Canadian government. And this is what my manager told me, and maybe anyone can also take this and add it to their knowledge that they already have. She said, if an information is public knowledge, feel free to share it. If an information concerning our work is public knowledge, you can share it. But if it's something that is not public knowledge, don't share it. So for example, there's something going on in your workplace that has not yet been released in the media and the public, and you want to make a post about it. That is a no-no, unless your company or your organization or the team you're with has already made like a press release, release it on a website or release it on social media, then you can share that. But like I always say, going back to the main point of being very, very, very mindful of what you post, to be objective. For me, I just like to post about my own personal experiences. My LinkedIn does not really entail posting about other people's businesses, unless it has to really do with Ghana that I'm very passionate about. And even with that, I'm quite careful on some of the information I share. I just mainly post about my personal experiences and then it lands there. So I hope this helped. And to quickly answer your two questions, how do you land a mentor? So I learned that there is something called direct and indirect mentorship. People can mentor you without they even knowing you, or without they even knowing you on a personal basis. So for example, I know some of us might have people that we admire and people that we look up to, leaders and so on. You can follow their steps in terms of watching videos, in terms of following them when they go on radio stations, listening to them and so on. And indirectly, they mentor you. Let me give you a personal example. Somebody that indirectly mentors me is Nana Mama Brown. I love her to bits. I have watched every single one of Nana Mama Brown's interviews because for me, I find it fascinating how a woman in the entertainment industry in Ghana can excel at that level and still be loved by many people. To me, I find it very intriguing. So what I do is I watch her videos, I watch her interviews, I watch her shows. I pick one or two things from her that I can also add to my own knowledge and my own skills. That is indirect mentorship. She doesn't know me, but she has a big fan somewhere that is being mentored by her. And then you can also have direct mentorships where you actually go to these people and seek for their mentorship. Mind you, and to be very honest with you, most of these people that are of high prestige, they're very busy and they don't even really have the time to give you that one-on-one mentorship. So a lot of it will have to be a form of indirect mentorship where you're watching their videos, you're listening to their sessions and so on. And then when they do have the time, they can provide you with that support and help. And don't hesitate to reach out to people that you want them to mentor you. Always, before you seek mentorship, go to them with what you're trying to develop in. If it's public speaking, if it's effective communication, if it's effective leadership, go to them and let them know that, hey, this and this is where I lack. I believe that you can support me to fill this gap, to mentor me, because I want to attain this for a future benefit. Let them know that the investment you're making in you is not just for waste. So I would share that. And then lastly, in regards to tone, it's funny because I actually, many months ago, I had a conversation with Lexus Bill of Joy FM, and I asked the very same question. Lexus Bill has a very radio voice tone. I asked him, I said, do you drink any concoction, maybe garlic mixed with ginger or anything? He said no. And one thing he said that really struck me was that you really do not need a radio voice. Just be yourself, just be that enthusiastic and passionate person, and you will be fine. So when it comes to tones, I would say that being mindful of the setting in which you're in helps, because like I said, the way I might interact with people in the corporate space, or let's say if I was in the midst of politicians, the voice tonation that I would use would not be the same if I was talking to a group of friends or my family members. So definitely your tone is impacted by the setting you are in and the audience you find yourself in. So you don't need to change your tone. You don't need to have a radio tone. You don't need to put on this deep voice. Just be your natural self. And I think that will fall through. So that's the little I wanted to share. Pardon me for that lengthy response, but I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you too. Max Lin, I think you'll be the last person and then we can move on. Yeah, Max Lin, can you hear me? Hello? Okay.
Hi, my hand is not, sorry.
Oh, all right. Okay, then Sandra, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me, please? Okay, awesome. So my question goes to both Martin and Maame. It's with regards to okay, yeah, I think I think Maame mentioned this earlier. We should eliminate filler words. It looks like we can do without it. So it's with regards to
Sandra, you can.
Oh, yeah.
You can.
With regards to, is it inflections or monotones, right? So one thing that I find very interesting is the fact that when we are supposed to read speeches or probably maybe have presentations, you know, some people read their presentations, reading makes our voice a bit monotonic, if it's a word. So how do you like deal with that? I feel that when people read or when we read our speeches or presentations, we sound a bit like monotonous or something. So how do we deal with that?
I'll let Martin take that if he's available, and maybe I can add a little bit to it as well.
Yes, sure, no problem. So yeah, on the issue of tones, it is not entirely true that it is like when you're reading, your tone is almost always straight and flat. And then again, whatever it is you're reading, because you're going to read it out loud to people, you must have read through it. So then you know areas where you need to go up, you need to come down. There are differences in how you do it. For news presentation, for instance, you always start your first few words, your first lines with a punch. Good morning, welcome to the news at 3. That is how it starts. You can't start by, when everybody tunes is 6 o'clock, people tune in there. Good morning, welcome to the news. My name is, no, that one you're flat. So although you are reading it, you need to put in the variations in your tone. So it's simple. Even when you started asking your question, you said that you wanted to ask something, right? The right you used is not the same as the first few words you mentioned before using the word right. So naturally, there are the variations and tonal differences in how we speak. However, if you want to make it official or you're speaking to a group of people, you need to have rehearsed and gone through it and know that here I need to take it easy. When you want to stress, voice coaches will tell you that anytime you want to stress something, the voice needs to be a little deeper and lower. So for our fathers or people who are probably scrutinized and criticized, will be like, hey. And it's different from, hey. See, so just know when to use it. The circumstance will definitely tell how to, or which specific kind of tone to use. But anytime you are addressing people or you are reading, even it's no matter how long the script is, you can break it down and know how to low voice and mid tone. You can always vary it. But I'm not sure that naturally you even speak in a
Martin, please, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. So all what I said didn't come?
It did, just the last,
The last part, okay. So anytime, so I mean, and in concluding, I was saying that even your natural talking voice is not monotone. It's not flat. So if you are talking to people, there are places of whichever words you are using that you want to stress. Whenever you want to stress something, you slow it down and say those words. And then the other part, you can just run it over. If you're going to give specific numbers, specific names, important information in the script you are reading, when you get to those places, you slow it down and you read it out, or you mention those words. And this answer I'm giving is based primarily on my practice as a journalist, or during journalism training, they'll tell you that you start high, there's mid-tone, and then in concluding, you go low. Those are some of the differences and variations, but it is not cast in stone how to use the tonations. And this actually ties into the other question that was asked about Bernard Avle and is it Bolloré? They are two different people, although they are in the same industry. Naturally, Bernard has a small shrill voice, just like me. And it was a major concern for me when I also started journalism, because then I was listening to Komla Dumoy. Komla Dumoy is one of the best, sweetest, richest voices you would ever want to hear and listen to proper baritone, which was seen as a standard if you're going to be a broadcaster. But I realized that for someone like Bernard, he made up for not having a baritone with knowledge. He's very knowledgeable, very smart. He knows his stuff, he knows his subject. So when he's asking you, or when he's talking, you don't focus on his tone. You are more focused on the content of what he's putting out. And that is one other way you can, differentiate yourself from the masses. If you do not have the voice, make sure you have the content compelling enough for people to look beyond your voice. And now, there really isn't a hard and fast rule about you have a small voice, so it won't allow you, or you have a big voice, so you are the go-to person. No, they actually would want to look at content. In fact, a few years ago, if you are not pretty, and I wonder who even defines pretty, if you are not of a certain build or shape, you wouldn't be allowed on TV. But I think many media houses have gone past that. They look out for what content you have and how you can properly deliver that content and how knowledgeable you are in your field, so that when you speak, people look beyond what you quote unquote do not have to appreciate that which you are giving them. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
All right. Thank you so much, Maame and Martin. Anyways, Maame has left her LinkedIn account in the chat box. Please, you can reach her at any time. If you have more questions, please do communicate with her. She would be glad to, answer you. So I would like to invite our Honorable Thompson Emmanuel. He is the Vice President for NUGS-CHINA, and we are privileged to have him in the Shanghai chapter. He's here to present a citation, give us the closing remarks, and also give our vote of thanks. So please, Thompson, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Rosemary. First of all, I would say thank you to both of you, Maame and Martin. You guys didn't shake your head to say no when we called you. So we are so much grateful for you to be here with us and to impact us today. So this is the letter we want to appreciate you guys with. So the citation read, citation of Hannah proudly presented to Maame Deha. The National Union of Ghana Students, China, Shanghai chapter, sincerely thank you for availing yourself as a speaker during the first edition of our Today's Leadership webinar team, Young Leaders and Their Allies. The program would not have been a success without your support. We are greatly inspired by your in-depth insight on the topic, public speaking. Maame, thank you so much. So this will be sent to you after the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, so this is the citation to you, Martin Aseidu Dartey. Citation of honor proudly presented to Martin Aseidu Dartey. The National Union of Ghana Students, China, Shanghai chapter, sincerely thank you for availing yourself as a speaker during the first edition of our Today's Leadership webinar themed Young Leaders and Their Allies. The program would not have been a success without your support. We are greatly inspired by your in-depth insights on the topic, effective communication. Martin, this is to you, and this will be sent to you at your office. Thank you so much for being here. So without much ado,
I'm grateful.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say thanks to God Almighty, who has today graced this occasion. As if it has not been him, who knows that people of Shanghai can have this program. I believe most of you know what is going on in Shanghai. So thanks be to God. Again, on behalf of the NUGS-CHINA Shanghai chapter executives, we want to say thank you so much to Martin and Maame for the amazing presentation, discussion, and answering of questions. We are so much grateful, and we continue to be grateful for the great things that you've done. We also want to send our gratitude to the national executives leading by Her Excellency Irene Koko, my own president, my boss. Thank you and the amazing team for being here. Last but not the least, we want to say thank you to each and everyone that is here, especially the president and the vice president or the executives of the various chapters. Terry, Gideon, Barnabas, I can see all of you here. Thank you so much for coming. God bless us all. Okay, so this program, hopefully we are going to continue. Hopefully we are going to have different people to speak to us on today's leadership. So please let's be aware. And Shanghai want to say again that we are grateful. So Madam MC, over to you.
All right, thank you, Vice President. Okay, so the program has come to an end and we are so grateful. So as we started with God, we are going to end with God. So I would call on Jemfua to give us the closing prayers. And after that, please, if you want to enjoy some music from DJ Kawabanga, please don't log out, just stay and listen to the music. So Jemfua, please give us the closing prayers.
Hello everyone, good evening. And
good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity. Our resource persons, thank you. Please, we are praying.